Shannon, what's going on here?
Skip, I got a funny feeling this is not going to end well for your Spurs. I believe that Kawhi doesn't think he's healthy. And I know what the doctors, the Spurs team doctors have told him, and I know he's gone to specialists, and it was reported that he went and saw another specialist a couple of days ago. Skip.
No, same.
The same?
Same. Keep going.
Skip, it's hard for me to believe. I mean, because he's so quiet, you don't get anything. Well, I spoke to some people in this camp, or I spoke to some people around Kawhi, and this is what's going on. You don't hear that. So it's really hard to tell about him, Skip, because, he just sit there and he's just like so stoic. But it's hard for me to believe that this young man isn't hurt. And I get it, the MRIs and ultrasound and whatever he's had on this quadricep tendon or whatever's going on, something's not right, Skip, and this is not going to end well. Now, he has 1 year left on that contract. They can offer him $219 this summer. But I don't think money, could it be money? Does he just want out of San Antonio? Does he want to get to a bigger market so he could, the claw should, this claw thing, Skip? I don't know, but Skip, something's not right here. And the Spurs, you read how great their team doctors are and how this relationship with the Spurs front office and the players is great.
Yep.
We've never seen anything like this.
Never.
The greats for the Spurs, you go back to David Robinson and Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Ginobili, and here come Kawhi. Kawhi was that bridge from all-time great, like Robinson and Duncan, and now we got Kawhi. He was going to take them on to the future. But Skip, man, this man's got to be hurt, Skip. I don't believe he's faking it. I just don't. I can't. And I know it's frustrating for the Spurs because they're looking like, well, hold on. Dude, we've done sent you all around the world. We've gotten every image. We've talked to the specialists on top of specialists, and they say they can find nothing wrong. But at the end of the day, Skip, he's got to do it. I remember when I broke my collarbone, and the Broncos didn't put me on IR, Skip, and so I was running on the treadmill, and I'm trying to get back, and I heard a crunch. And, the Broncos team doctor told me everything was okay. I called my agent. I flew somewhere else. They told me it was okay. Okay, I'm not playing. I'm not going back out there. Not when I felt that crunch. They told me it was okay, but I felt a crunch. I know what I felt. I know what the imaging is saying, but that's not what he's feeling. And at the end of the day, Kawhi's got to do what's in the best interest of Kawhi. Maybe it's degeneration of that tendon. Maybe it's something that the images can't pick up. But Skip, knowing, like I said, just looking at him, it's hard for me to believe that this man is healthy and he's just choosing not to play. I just can't believe that.
So, in my lengthy career, I have never run up against a story that so confounded me, so baffled me, so tore me apart as a Spurs fan, so mixed my emotions, because I love Kawhi Leonard. I love everything about his character, his intangibles, his work ethic. No Spur works harder than Kawhi. No Spur toes the party company line better than Kawhi because, as you say, he never has a word to say to anybody. He just shows up for practice, practices hard, gets up extra shots until now. And this has fallen completely apart. And I have talked to numerous people last night who are very close to and inside this story, and they all agree on only one thing, and it's what you just said. This is heading toward divorce. The bridge is on fire, and it might just burn all the way to the ground. And the painful irony for me is this is the model franchise, maybe it could be even beyond the Patriots. I know they're compared to the Patriots, and they've sort of observed each other.
Yes.
But these are the Patriots of the NBA.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is the organization in sports best known for conservative approach to injury. This organization has the most patience with injury of any organization in baseball, football, or basketball, or hockey. Throw them any of them.
Skip, you remember they got fined because he sent Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, and Ginobili. He sent them home.
Sent them home.
David Stern said, you can't do that.
On Southwest Airlines, he sent them home. Yeah, he just said, you guys just
take a rest. Yeah. He rests anybody at any given time.
So we hit bottom yesterday, obviously, because While Kawhi has just about had enough of the Spurs, yesterday Coach Popovich showed you he's just about had enough of Kawhi because he basically said, you know what, hell with him. As much as he has loved Kawhi Leonard, he said hell with him. We got to go onward and upward without him because clearly he just is not choosing to come back. So they haven't pushed him at all. And yet, before I get into the details of this, I've told you before in my career, and you could have used this in your locker room sometime too, because how many times did you wonder about a teammate who said, I can't go today?
Oh, yeah.
How many times did Shannon Sharpe say in his head, I'd go with that?
Yeah.
I'd suck it up and play with that.
Or I would take an injection and go with that.
Or go with that. That's
some
correct.
guys like, nah, I ain't taking no shot. I ain't doing that. I'm like,
so I know this is hypothetical, dream world kind of stuff, but I've always wished I could have this machine as a reporter, you know, where I could hook into this machine and for 5 minutes I could feel what your injury felt like.
Right.
And I could jump on it for a while. If your quad's hurt, I'm going to jump. I'm going to try to jump 10 straight times on it and see how it feels after 10 straight jumps. And maybe I'd sit back and say, come on,
right.
You can deal with that, right?
Right.
I don't have that machine. You don't have it, so I can't get inside Kawhi's head, nor can the Spurs. All they know is that their medical staff that they implicitly trust and their training staff concluded he is cleared to play.
Right.
We find no structural damage to the knee or the hip.
Right.
We can't, through MRI, find any glaring issue in the tendons that attach at the knee.
Right.
But when Kawhi has gone for the second opinions, yes, they have found some issue with the tendon at the connection to the knee. He did take a knee in the thigh.
Yeah.
He had what you'd call a thigh contusion that could have led to this if you kept playing on it. And some believe that the ankle sprain, thanks to Zaza Pacheep shot, was so severe on the left side, this is on the right side, that when it never quite healed, that he came back to camp and he's kind of a little out of balance, and then this happened.
Well, Skip, you know, he actually hurt that ankle against the Rockets.
He did. And then it really went.
Right.
Yes, because he'd missed the game 6. Okay, so then it went completely over the edge, and maybe it never healed. I don't know. But now we're getting into minute, fine line. What's going on? There's no fracture. There's nothing, you know, again, no structural. But there is some weakness in his right thigh, his quadriceps.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So that's what the outside people think. The inside people say, nope. And Kawhi has rebelled at their rehab methods, how they have prescribed, let's do this to make it stronger. He doesn't like it because he says this, whatever this is hurting it more. So he would play a game and then wake up the next morning and say, it's aching again. Right. It's back. And they'd say, okay, let's try this to rehab. And he'd say, that makes it hurt worse. Well, they've only had Tim Duncan and David Robinson and Manu Ginobili, and so they've been pretty good, you know? Yeah. And they've kept everybody pretty much afloat by keeping them low minutes, 30 minutes a game. So he has managed now, Kawhi Leonard, to play 9 games this year so far.
Right.
He makes $19 million. So if you are running the organization, you're doing the math and you're saying, it's looking like you're making about $2 million a game for us so far this year, and that's how it might end up. Right. That you're going to make 9 games, 19 million, $2 million, 2.1 million a game. Well, that doesn't sit well with the owner. You know, like at some point the owner's saying, wait a second, I pay our doctors and our trainers to tell me their bottom line truth. What do they see? Right. They see cleared to play. Externally, he goes to others in New York, and they say, you know, this could be done. It's gone so far as that one doctor said, hey, it could require some sort of cleanup surgery. Yeah. Maybe. This is like a 10% chance. So now they're at odds, and Kawhi, whose manager and agent is now his uncle, which is shaky sometimes because you're too close, you know? Right. Okay? So that's who is advising him. Right. His uncle is advising him, and that scares the Spurs even worse. So now the model franchise has lost a player, and this, I'm not exaggerating this. There are those in the executive offices of the San Antonio Spurs right now that would tell you that Kawhi Leonard is on path to have a greater impact in his career than Tim Duncan. If he could stay healthy for 10 more years, because he can obviously guard the best player. He can try to guard LeBron.
Right.
He can try to name James
AD
Harden,
or
whoever it is.
Right.
He can take on, because he's 6'7", so he can guard a little bigger or he can guard a little smaller.
And we've seen it. He got from LeBron to KD to Steph Curry to Kyrie Irving.
Yep.
So he can do it all. He has no weakness, Skip. But let me ask you this, Skip. Do you think there's some distrust because of the ankle injury? Because he tried to play through it, he fought through it, and he's like, you know what, I'm in this situation because they're trying to play through this ankle.
But they didn't make him play. Like Pop said after Golden State was over, he said, hey, if we'd been in dire straits, like, remember, that was just game one, that I would ask him, if that was game 7 coming up, I would ask him to play in game 7. Like there was some thought that he could have played in game 2.
Right.
But then after they got blown out, they had already lost game 1, they got blown out in game 2, and then they just sort of chunked it, and said, don't worry about it.
It just, for me, like I said, it's just hard for me to believe a player of Kawhi's talent will say, you know what, I'm just going to sit this one out. And especially, because here's the thing, Skip, if they move on, they're never getting equal value from him. For him. And that's what happens. When you trade a superstar, you don't get equal value.
And remember how they acquired him, because now George Hill is coming back prominent now to play as LeBron's new running mate in the backcourt.
Right.
They effectively, R.C. Buford, the best GM in pro basketball, effectively traded George Hill for the pick from Larry Bird, Indiana, with which he took Kawhi Leonard. So he effectively traded George Hill, who is now bounced around from Utah to Sacramento to Cleveland. Indiana. Well, I mean, he went Indiana. Yeah. So, but he effectively traded George Hill straight up for Kawhi Leonard. Was that not maybe the trade of the last 2 centuries?
That was a heck of a trade. It's just, Skip, it's not going to end well for you. I'm sorry.
It doesn't feel good to me right now. And remember, a lot of people, I'd say about 50% of the analysts that I read before the season started, including our Chris Broussard, picked Kawhi Leonard to be the MVP this year. Yeah. And this happened?
Yeah.
Over some mysterious little something with a tendon?
Skip, they said he was going to miss the preseason. Whew. How do we go from missing the preseason to missing 50 games?
Maybe the whole season.
Yes.
Whew. Very strange. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.